Hello and thank you for joining us. It's Saturday, February 12, 2011. Welcome to the End User Report. My name is Clarence.
And I'm Jamal.
Next to me is the man who never has a bad hair day. Today's episode, Jamal gets called out, the Xoom gets a price tag maybe, and we talk about the HP Touchpad. But let's go ahead and start this thing like we start many of our episodes and hit the back button. Last week we talked about the Motorola Xoom tablet. This week various reports say that the Xoom will cost $799, plus you will have to pay 1 month of 3G activation to get going. Jamal, what do you think real quick?
Getting kind of pricey, but that's pretty much been the way of most devices. You know, if you want to play, you have to pay.
Pretty much, I agree with you on that one. But let's continue on, still on last week's topic here. It seems someone has a bone to pick with you.
Oh no!
Jared UPS has a couple things to say. There's a few things wrong with what you're saying. The Xoom is a Google-sanctioned device, much like the Nexus 1 or the Nexus S. That meaning Google themselves controls the updates. Shortly after the source code is released, Google creates the update and has it pushed over the network. Those that get left in the dark often buy cheaper Androids or don't pick up their device well. It's well known whose updates, not Samsung. He also says Honeycomb is not proving itself because it's not freaking out yet. He goes on to further comment that the Xoom would beat the iPad. However, multitudes of Android tablets running Honeycomb that fit users' different needs. Some users actually prefer a 7-inch screen actually. Will likely outsell the iPad, especially since Android's already doing so as a whole as recently despite the shorter lifetime. Users like choice, and in the end, that's something that Apple simply isn't offering. As for the Galaxy S, Galaxy S tab, the return rate is less than 2%. Sorry for the rant, but do a bit of research. So he seemed a little upset. Apparently for Jared UPS, Brown doesn't work for him. So Jamal, your thoughts on that?
You did respond to him about the 2% thing.
Yeah,
right?
that, and I'll go over that really quick. Basically, Samsung says it's less than 2%, which any company would probably say that to kind of downplay it, I would think. ITG, who tracks the point-to-point sales, says it's closer to 16% and climbing. So that seems to be a matter that's really up for debate.
Okay, so let me get to the point with about Google and this being a sanctioned device. Yes, Google has made a handshake with Motorola and said, hey, you can use our operating system on this. I've really failed to see how Google's intention or to really keep this device up to date. If they do, that's fine. I would be great. That's great for the users. But I think in the end, what happens is that we all saw with the Nexus 1 that Nexus 1 had Froyo before everyone else did, and we had to wait and sit until T-Mobile or Samsung or Motorola allowed us to do the updates. On top of that, if you wanted to get the latest and greatest, you'd have to rootkit your device. So, we talked about this earlier, about a couple of podcasts ago, about just the how manufacturers are not really up with the Google's latest revisions, and that could be because of the fact that manufacturers are being cautious and they want to make sure that if they do an update, that the devices don't break. As for the Honeycomb issue, you're right. There hasn't been enough Honeycomb devices out there, and I didn't say that Honeycomb was going to fail. I just said it hasn't proven itself yet. What else was I supposed to respond about?
That's pretty much it, really, other than, let's take a look here.
I just don't see, in terms of Google's only interest is in making sure that their operating system is successful. And really, in the long run, they're only interested in making money. And that's the bottom line. Both Motorola and Google are interested in making money. Motorola by selling as much Xoom tablets as they can possibly push off to every client or customer, and Google to make sure that the OS is on any freaking device that's possible, so they can track your information and then get money from you in terms of advertising. Because what we talked about earlier with Google, the number one moneymaker is advertisement. People do not mistake that. Okay? They make an OS, they make Chrome, they make all these other nice little apps, but in the long run, it's because it's to increase the advertisement revenue. Sorry about the rant.
Rants are always welcome here, dude. They make the show better. But let's get to why we're here today. The reports this week swirl about the highly anticipated HP tablet that is called the HP Touchpad. Let's really quick go over some of the specs. It is going to be running the HP WebOS. It's going to come with a 1.2 gigahertz Snapdragon dual-core processor, 9.7-inch screen. There are going to be two versions, 16 gig and 32 gigs for your internal storage, full web browser with Flash 10.1, of course built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, 1.3 megapixel camera.
Front end, yeah, right? Front facing, I believe?
I believe it's just front facing. That's all I saw as far as the specs goes. You are going to have 6-action motion sensing, light sensor and compass, of course. Micro USB slot, weighs about 1.6 pounds. The release date is rumored to be in late June, and the price that they're saying is rumored right around $700. Based on what you know, what are your thoughts on the HP Touchpad?
I think it's exciting because I'm a big fan of WebOS. I think that WebOS is a very good operating system. They also introduced this concept of synergy, which even though the touchpad does have, I think, 3G and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built into it, but according to what they're saying with synergy is that when you get the Palm 3 or the Veer, which is the micro version of the Palm 3, I guess, for tiny people, a phone for tiny people. So the fact is that when you make a phone call or there's an email or message, that it synchronizes with your touchpad, and I think that's a pretty neat option there, using of course the Google's cloud services.
Alrighty. Spec wise, it matches up with the cream of the crop as far as tablets that are going to be released this year, but as we talked about last week, what really makes a device is the OS. And one thing I think about WebOS is that it's a solid operating system. I think it was great that HP went and picked it up. One thing I'm really interested in is the new feature, because they're saying they're adding about 50. That was the report. I don't know how true that is. But one in particular is touch to share that I really like. And this allows you to actually share web pages and documents with another WebOS device simply by tapping that device to the touchpad. And I think that's a lot easier than having to go through a bunch of apps and say, okay, where's my file? And so yeah, I think, as you said, the touchpad will be exciting.
Well, it's exciting because it's refreshing that you don't hear. It's a non-Android device. It's a non-Apple iOS device. It's something that will maybe spark the market and hopefully add more choice, because really this is what it's all about, is adding choice to the consumer. And hopefully when RIM comes out with their version of their tablet, that it'll give consumers even more choice, and perhaps the prices of these tablets will go down as well. The thing that I have a couple of thoughts about this. Number one is when HP first introduced this, they said that it would be slated to come out in the week. Then they retract their statement, and now they're saying summer. So that
does get a little troublesome.
That's kind of dicey there, HP. Another thing is, you have WebOS, but what about app support? The thing that makes Android and what makes Apple iOS so strong is that they have such a huge app support. So how are you going to help the developers? Are you going to open up your APIs for developers, or is it going to be like the garage, where the developers can come into the garage but they can't touch any of the tools? Hopefully it's not like that, because then I don't see this tablet going very far, neither the Pre 3. Uh, and this last thing is kind of nitpicky thing though. It's just that I think this device is just a catch-up game for HP. There's nothing internally that grabs me. I think everything is pretty much what would people be expected if you were to introduce a new tablet. So there's nothing that was like groundbreaking in terms of the tablet, other than the fact that it's introducing a new OS. And honestly, this is probably geared for more of the enterprise market. I just can kind of see this where HP is heading. They're heading this into the enterprise market with the whole synergy, being able to work with LinkedIn, Facebook, your Microsoft
Exchange.
I mean, I just, to me, it just screams we're going after the enterprise. So
It doesn't. And another thing we do know about WebOS is that it multitasks very well. So
yes.
So that's what one thing that we don't hear a lot about is how well this actually handles 3D gaming. I know that was a complaint about some of the other earlier versions of this operating system. So it'll be interesting to see. I am still excited about it. If I do got to say one last thing, I do think that if they want to sell this thing, I think they should price it just under, your iPad, your iPad 2s, and your Motorola Xoom type tablets. I don't think that HP is really going to put the backing and advertisement in necessary to compete on that level with, I guess you can say, the premier tablets on the market right now.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of the pricing. The advantage that I think they do have, it's a fresh OS, and I'd love to see how WebOS competes against the Android and the Apples of the world.
Well, all right. Well, we're running short on time, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next segment. It is close to Valentine's Day. That is Monday, so we're going to show a little love here today. Jamal, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Okay, well, I'm going to show some love to all of our subscribers and those who haven't subscribed but secretly listen in and watch us. And I just want to thank you all for giving us support, and please bring in those comments in, negative or positive. We love them. And again, this show is really all about just a bunch of guys getting together and just talking about technology. And sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, but in the end, it's all about our opinions.
Alrighty, well spoke. I know we're supposed to come on here and give love to devices, but I'm actually going to say just happy birthday, Odessa. That is my sister. Her birthday is today, and yes, I didn't get you anything because, well, you've never got me anything. But happy birthday anyways.
Is she hot?
Dude, that's not a question you even ask.
If she looks like him, she's not hot.
Wow. That's messed up.
Well, happy birthday, Odessa.
And you're never going to meet Jamal because he's just going to come up to you and say, he looks bangable. So it's not going to happen. But
okay.
That wraps it up here for us at the End User Report. Again, this is Clarence.
And I'm Jamal.
Thanks for watching.
Peace.